Welcome back, guys, to the second podcast of this year. We are your hosts. I am Cameron Muir, and with me, as always, is Chad Snyder. We seem to be talking about the Super Series that we had, was it last month or was it the beginning of this month? Who do we have talking to us today?
We have Marley Chauvin. She's from Saskatchewan. She is one of the goaltenders for the women's Canadian team at the Super Series. And we also have Joey Ponczak. I believe Joey has been on our show once before, I think. But he was a member of the men's team at the Super Series, and he is from Manitoba.
Let's bring them all in here and chat them up. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Not for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for being patient with the technical difficulties.
Well,
all right. Well, welcome aboard. I don't know. I'm sure you've watched a few of our podcasts before, and if not, this is kind of how it goes. We sit here and we ask you a bunch of questions. We try not to pick on you too much, and yeah. So let's get it rolling. So. First question, as always, we'll start with ladies first, Marley, like we usually do. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into broomball.
I grew up in Vanscoy, right outside of Saskatoon, playing hockey for about 20 years or so. I'd never heard of broomball until about 10 years ago when I went out to watch a friend play a game. The team was missing a goalie at the time, and they kind of just threw somebody in net. She was terrible. So after the game, my friend's like, "Hey, how'd you like broomball?" And I was like, "Well, I wouldn't be good at running because I hate running, but I could have done better than that goalie." And the next game, they threw me in net, and I haven't stopped playing net since.
So what happened to that? What happened to that other goalie? Did she just retire, or did you?
She's now retired, yes, but she was a defenseman.
Okay.
They don't always make the best goalies, eh, Cam? They think they're good, but they usually just get in the way and put the ball in the net.
Yeah,
exactly.
They have like their one block, and they can't do the side to side. They have no lateral movement on those.
Yeah. Okay, Joey, you're up. Same question.
Yeah, so born and raised rural Manitoba, and played lots of sports growing up, and was actually a goalie in hockey. And my uncle and aunt, they have been running a mixed team right around where we live for about this next couple of years, it'll be about 40 years. And so yeah, when I was 12, they asked if I wanted to play goal, just because they didn't really have a goalie that year, and that's kind of where it started. And then the next year, I think I was 13, went to juvenile nationals as a backup, and then yeah, the next couple of years sort of went as a backup goalie to nationals, and then was starting to play a bit more forward because we had three goalies on the team, and realized that being a goalie was kind of not the funnest job, and then which I know it's a lot of goalies on this podcast, but yeah, I ended up moving right to playing D full time, and yeah, just from there went all through juveniles, and then got into playing seniors. Went to 2012, we went to Worlds with a mixed team from Manitoba, and then yeah, we've just kind of kept playing, and now we've got a senior men's team here that I run, and yeah, it's just I know it's been playing for a while now. All of a sudden, I'm one of the older guys in the team, and I used to be one of the younger guys, but that's sort of just been pretty fortunate to always end up in positions to go with other teams, and lots of different tournaments in the past few years. So yeah.
Well, right on. Well, thank you for keeping broomball alive in Manitoba.
Yeah, well, it's lots of pretty good group of committed players right now, so they make the job easy. But
right on.
So we'll go back to Marley here. What made you decide to put your name forward for the Super Series? I know it's the first one, so you didn't really know what you were doing, but did it just seem exciting, the idea of it, or just convenient, or what was it?
Well, I decided to put my name forward because I thought it was a good opportunity to learn and grow as a broomball player, to play with some of the best in the country and players I normally would play against, and to learn some new views of the game. I try to take one thing from each game and build on it and grow as a player.
Nice.
Yeah.
Joey, what about you? What brought you to the Super Series?
Yeah, when it kind of came out, there was quite a few of the players that end up going where we were kind of talking a bit back and forth, and seemed like a really cool idea. And I don't know, there's your broomball career, your potential years to go to these things. It's not super long. It kind of goes by, so you don't want to miss those opportunities. And yeah, we just mostly was that. And even for us traveling, it wasn't super far to attend it. So um, yeah, it just seemed like a good opportunity to play with some different players. And like Marley said, learn quite a bit. In 2014, I went to Japan with a kind of not a similar type, the way this was ran, but we went with a team, and there was, I think, guys from 6 different provinces that went, and had to end up meeting a lot of different players, a lot of connections at that tournament, and sort of having that same sort of feel of playing with guys from different provinces. Like, had a really good time when we went to Japan, and it was really a great experience. So just wanted to, maybe that was a big part of also, wanting to attend this tournament. So
Right
So,
on.
like, so I know you said it was close for you guys. I know for me to drive from Minnesota for 2018 it took me 20 hours. What was it for you?
from my house, it's about 9-ish hours, 7 hours from Winnipeg. So we kind of met there, a few of us, and then scooted down. And like for us, it's actually Minneapolis is probably just as close as going west to Saskatoon or Regina area. So in the past, we've gone down south a few times playing Minneapolis tournaments, and yeah, there's
Nice.
been lucky that way that we're sort of pretty similar, close vicinity to them. But
Cool.
yeah.
I'm really surprised that neither one of you said for the love of the game. Like, come on, it's for the love of the game, right?
Yeah.
All right, Joey. So, like you said, playing with a bunch of different people from different provinces, obviously you've made connections in the past and stuff, but how hard was it to create that team atmosphere with a bunch of different people from that you don't normally play with, right?
Yeah, for as far as the men's team, like for us, I felt very easy. It seemed like as soon as, our first practice we had, everyone was on board with what needed to be done. And lots, gone to these tournaments, we've made up teams to go to Worlds, and you make a really good team on paper and you think like, no one will beat us. And sometimes that's not always the best, egos get in the way, or just things don't go well together. And with this team, I really thought there was none of that. Like, guys just, whatever they had to do, whatever needed to be done, and
Just
guys,
gelled.
yeah, gelled, and guys found their role. And yeah, I thought the group that we had was really good attitude for the week. I didn't think there was, it kind of just started like on a really good note and didn't really end the whole week. So yeah, it
Right on.
was good.
And Marley, same kind of thing for you guys, or was it a little
Well,
different?
I found it quite easy actually creating a team atmosphere with players from the other provinces. Well, that is as soon as I downloaded Google Translate, because most of those people out east were French speaking, which was hard for us Saskatchewan girls. But it really helped that there was a big group of Saskatchewan girls that went down, so we drove down as well. But it was quite easy getting along with all the girls. They were all so open and friendly, and you could tell we were all there for the love of the broom ball.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Good plug, Marley.
Mm-hmm.
Now back to you, Joey. I know you touched on a little bit there, but I know you're playing with guys you usually play against. Was it hard to figure out the different playing styles of everyone there, or did you kind of figure it out after a couple practices, or did it take a full game to get really into it to see where people gelled and stuff? Or
So I think the coaching staff, they did a really good job putting guys with, if you're more of a shutdown grinder player, they put those guys together. I felt like they did a good job combining guys with similar style of players. The first game was probably we had our practice and it went well, but our first game was for sure shaky. Like, they scored a couple early, and then right away, some guys trying to do, not trying to do too much, but just kind of to get that rhythm. Like I felt after we got the first game over with that it was game two, and moving forward was much better. And it wasn't like guys were doing anything wrong, just like one guy would zig and one guy would zag, and like it was always that you're doing the right thing, but the passes weren't there, and which is kind of expected just because you've got so many new faces. But we sort of too, I know like the coaching staff sort of adjusted, even like matching up our lines with the US a little bit. Just guys who, more of a shutdown guys would try and always match with each specific line, and that really going into game two made a big difference. And yeah, for sure it took a little bit, but after one game I felt we really kind of got with it and just kept getting better and better.
Okay, Marley, same with the girls. Was it after practice and one game kind of thing, or did you feel it was earlier than that, or you guys never
right in there?
Well, it's quite easy actually. A goalie's job in each province is to stop the ball, so
yeah.
That was my number one thing. But it was a little different with new girls, knowing how they move the ball and how close they come in front of the net, and trusting your defense came quick. The hardest thing was understanding the Quebec girls, just because they spoke French naturally on the ice. So just trying to figure out what they were saying. But after that, it was pretty simple. The girls all gelled really well together.
Nice. Yeah, I find for me playing goalie, you can play goalie for anyone. The only difference is I like to play the ball a lot. So sometimes if I'm with a new team, they're not used to me coming out and playing the ball a lot. But other than that, it's just you stop the ball. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Hey, just
yeah.
As long as the offense can score more goals than they do, we win.
Yeah.
Right? You can stop all the balls you want, but if you got no offense, it doesn't help.
Say so.
So now, Marley, how did the games actually go? Like, how did you guys do against the US? And did you learn anything? Did you take away anything from every game? Did you, build on it?
Well, the games were actually pretty back and forth, even though we lost all three of them. I played in both the 1-0 games and the one that went into overtime. So the games could have went either way. Team US had a lot of Minnesota-based players, so they had previous experience playing together, so they worked well together. But other than that, I think that the games could have went either way.
Right on. Joey?
Yeah, super close games for us. I think we lost the first one 3-1, then won 1-0, lost 1-0, won 3-1, and then lost in the overtime, kind of deciding that we did there. But if it went 7 games, I bet it goes the full 7, and probably a couple more go to overtime. Like it was neck and neck the whole for right through. Probably the most surprising, I think, for me was with you're putting all very talented both sides. Like US had, there's some of the best players in the world at this tournament. So you're thinking games are going to be 6-5, 5-4. Like there's so much offensive talent.
Yeah.
And it was like the total opposite. It was tight checking, the deep, like super defensive, no room, which I mean, that does happen too. But normally with, I would have expected a lot more goals per se. And even like the power plays both, I don't know if either team got a power play goal, which is rare.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's good for Valley Young, but it's like with that, you've got that much talent going out each time. You think for sure if you're taking a penalty, you're like, oh man, they're going to score or whatever. But yeah, it was just super close, either like right through, and like I said, low scoring, wasn't much room. There was chances for sure, but it was just very tight locked down, and those games too, like you want to be the one line to give one up if it's you might only get one goal that game, so you really want to just that's the way I felt for the men's anyways. It was just neck and neck, like very, very competitive.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear.
They were fun to watch. So what do you guys think? How do you think the whole thing went? Being there was a pilot program, the first time doing it, Do you think it went well? Do you think it went okay? Is there a lot of things you would change, or just pretty much keep it the same? Marley, we'll start with you.
My impression was all positive. It was run really well, so I have no complaints. The hardest thing I think for the Canadian women was that it was non-contact. So a lot of the Saskatchewan teams, um, we do a lot of running and stuff like that, but we also rely a lot on body, and I think that was a hard little switch over. I think we took a lot of penalties because of that, but other than that, it was all good.
Joey, what are you thinking?
Yeah, really, really good impression of it all. I felt like the as a whole, like on and off the ice, really good. I felt like the U.S. they did very good job hosting the event. Everything was, everything was organized. Everything happened on time. Officiating was really, really good, which you never know going to these tournaments. And I felt that was some of the better reffing that we've had going. That was all good. Yeah, just as far as how the teams were put together, and even off the ice, like at the hotel, just hanging out with and meeting different players from the ladies and mixed team it was just a overall great event. Any changes I would make probably only would be very minor. Like I think if if they do it next year in the future, if they were to add a fourth line, like we went with the 3 forward lines, I think giving some more players the opportunity to go, and even just having, like, we're lucky we didn't have any injuries, but you get 1 or 2 injuries, now you're getting pretty low on bodies. So potentially maybe adding a fourth line or taking a full roster to the event would be the only change, or maybe a little bit later in the year. But I know that they, even discussing with Rasim and Danny and Barb, some of the organizers, they've already kind of have thought about those changes and pushing it a little later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of, yeah, the biggest thing with this year, like we always we kind of want to do this on a non-Worlds year, but we felt we had to start something even this year, just with what we had going on with the way the pandemic was, and not being, having broomball in our lives for a couple of years. Just want to get that rejuvenation, right? That spark back. And this was a great way, we thought, that, to bring the whole country together and, have something that we want to do every second year that Worlds isn't going on, right? That's basically what it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. And no, I think it was just everything about it was done really well. I think even how, like, with the social media, just that was a good way to sort of promote the event, I think.
I loved watching it from home. Was great. Being able to, like, it was really exciting to watch, and then the social media, having all, like, the stats and stuff, the graphics after was really cool. I mean, the only thing that I would have changed would have been the timing. I found it was a little too close to Worlds, so there's some guys that didn't put in their names that probably would have, and maybe open the criteria a little bit. I know, like, I can name like 3 guys that I feel are like some of the best in Canada that were on a team that qualified for nationals that just couldn't play at nationals. So maybe open it to teams that were at nationals, like Lacombe's, like my buddy, like obviously I'm biased because he's a friend of mine, but Thomas St. Pierre I think is one of the best players out there. But because he didn't play at nationals, he couldn't even try to put his name in for this. So I don't know. I feel like opening the criteria to really have the best of the best from the country, but it was still fun to watch regardless. And the team that was there was phenomenal. I mean, you can probably pick like 60 guys and have two Canadian teams out there and still go toe to toe with the States. So it was really fun to watch, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was going to say too, I think if you end up, I mean, they'll figure out how to, fine tune it. But I think even potentially, let's say prior to nationals, any player that plays provincials, even put your name in, and, then it also gives coaches an idea, like while watching nationals, who to keep an eye on. And let's say after nationals, you get it to a 30-player roster. And then, then you see who's still interested in the dates, and then you kind of get it down to 20 from there or something. But I said,
Yeah,
I don't think many changes need to happen. It's just, obviously fine tuning. And for a first year, it was really, really good. Very
Yeah.
well done.
and I mean, it's like you said, it was a pilot project. We wanted to see how it was going to be received, how well it would work. Obviously, hearing from both of you, it seems like it was phenomenal. And so now we can only build on it, right? So that's the best part of it, right? You make it better and better every 2 years and go from there, right? So back to the Super Series, just talking about the Super Series, period, right? Like, so Marley, do you have a standout moment from the Super Series that just kind of sticks out in your head, whether it be on ice, off ice?
Well, my favorite moment was definitely putting on that Canada jersey. There's no greater feeling. But also, there was a lot of good moments. I stayed with the captain of the U.S. women's team actually, so trash talking her at home before the games and after the games. But I did hang out at the hotel a lot to hang out with the girls, get to know them from the East, and making memories, new friends. Also deepening the bonds with the Saskatchewan ladies as well. So,
All right, on.
yep.
Joey, anything that
Uh,
stands out just from the Super Series?
Yeah, a few for sure. I know probably the game two overtime goal was pretty like a pretty big sigh of relief for us after we lost the first one, and then started thinking, oh man, you go down 0-2, now you're really in a hole, and yeah, of course it's like a 0-0 game, goes to overtime, and yeah, I end up Bobby Bilodeau. He got a breakaway, kind of classic how he scores those goals. And anyways, yeah, we scored that, and it was just you could see a big relief on everyone's faces, being like, okay, well, we're still good. We're tied it up. We start like, yeah, exactly. And then even game 4, we end up losing game 3. Had some really good chances, and then we lost game 3. So game 4 against the Ropes was like, oh, like kind of same feeling. And yeah, we came out flying game 4, like sort of nothing specific, but just as a whole, those are some pretty good moments, getting those. And unfortunately, immediately after game 4, they scored about 10 seconds in, and it was like, crap, that was the end of that. But yeah, it was all that. And yeah, just even like in the dressing room, you're getting ready, whatever, and got a good group of guys, and a lot of guys that you've played against, some of the best players to play the sport, and guys that as you're coming up would watch, and yeah, getting just to put on the same jersey as all those guys, and really a really good camaraderie with everyone was all that was pretty good, great experience. So
right on. Thank you.
So, Joey, we'll go with you again here. What would you say to any players or coaches who weren't sure this year, or still may not be sure next year if they want to take part in the next Super Series? Would you recommend it to them, and why? What would push you over the edge? Being someone myself, being on the fence this year, try to push me over the edge there. What really makes it so much fun, or what was great that makes people want to do it? Should make people want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I hands down say it's like very worthwhile doing. Like, I wouldn't second guess. I'm sure next year I'll be putting my name forward again. And but I would just tell people there's not too many, especially this being one of the first best on best. Canada US is a pretty cool experience, and just the opportunities. And you look at the last few years with COVID. There's 2 years that were kind of gone out of that. Yep. You weren't, nobody expected that. So these, going to these tournaments aren't always going to be a guaranteed thing every year. And as people get older too, your opportunities, life gets busier. And I think, just going to the event and even having like future connections, a lot of meeting players, like even after that event, there was, a couple with us not taking really a world's team from out west, there was opportunities with some of the players from Ontario teams to go with them, and just having those connections is always nice, because you never like just going to future tournaments and learning a lot. I think playing at that level with those types of players, you're only going to improve. that'd be kind of my big pushes with that is as overall
Can't get,
events.
you can't get better unless you play against the best. I always was a huge rule for me is that, you can practice all you want, play against whatever team you want, but if you're not playing against the best or you're not competing against the best, how can you get better?
Yeah, that's what I tell my juvenile teams that all the time. Like the boys, they play in a men's league and they lost last night 4-1, but they were playing against a team with like 6 or 7 elite guys, and it's like, yeah, you lost that game, but you still, or sorry, it was only 4-2, so they got 2 goals against a bunch of elite players, and that's, yes, it's a loss, but you learn a lot from those games. So playing against people from all over the world, the different skill levels and a high skill level, I'm sure is definitely worth it. Marley, do you have anything to add to that, or is there anything else off the ice that would be enticing about the Super Series? Or
I would say if you have the opportunity, just do it. You'll never get to play with those kind of high calibers. It doesn't just come around all the time. Yeah, it was, as most of you guys know, Saskatchewan took a pretty heartbreaking loss in nationals in the semis, and just getting to talk to the girls that beat us and just their views of the game from that side of it was just great to hear their little pointers and tips. So it was really great. Make new friends, bring back experience to your club team, and go from there.
Right on.
cool.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for everything you've shared with us tonight. We're down to the last question. It's the token last question of this podcast series. So we'll start with you, Marley, since you're front and center, right? So what is your personal all-time best broomball memory? And you can have more than one. I'll let you do that, but you can't have 5 or 7.
My favorite best part about broomball games is when they go into the second overtime period.
Oh,
I get to sit on the bench, and it's not my responsibility anymore.
okay.
No, winning provincials. My club team won provincials 3 years in a row now, so that was a pretty highlight of my career. Also, going to nationals this year, just the way that we got beat in round robin pretty bad, and then came around, had a 2-hour team meeting off the ice, and just completely changed the way that we played the game, and just growing with those girls and getting to know them even more is just kind of the off ice. I love it as much as on the ice.
Right on. Well, that's perfect, right? If you can gel as a team, like you said, work hard as a team on and off the ice, it brings it together.
Yeah.
Thank you. Joey, I know you've played a lot of games, played a lot of places. Heck, I didn't even know you went to Japan.
Yep. Yeah. So this tough question, kind of got it down. I'll try and keep it short and sweet. Yeah, Japan Worlds in 2014 was for sure. It's up there. Yeah, going with guys from Ontario, Quebec, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Northwest Territories, and then we ended up winning that year as well. So that just kind of was the cherry on top. And yeah, to be playing broomball in Japan is, that's a pretty kind of doesn't happen often, especially at that level of a tournament. There'd be a couple gold broom tournaments in there as well. We won it a couple times with our Manitoba team. Both finals that we did were just like, one went to double overtime. One was, I think it was against your Odessa Outlaws, and we got outshot 29-4 or something, and 1-1-0.
Bullshit.
Yeah, so a couple of those are pretty cool, like being able to pull those off. But I'd say the number one would be 2018 Nationals in Portage for me. That year we hosted, and we had a full kind of Manitoba squad. Our third year going back to Nationals, and we had a tough draw too. We had, I think it was Ottawa, the Patriots, then Gladiator. It was like Gladiators, Aces, and then like just a really tough pool to come out of. And yeah, we just kind of, everything worked out that week. The bounces all sort of came our way and ended up went 4-1 in the round robin, and won our A-side semifinal game to go to the finals. Kind of ran out of gas, and we didn't lost in the finals, but to come with the team we had and stuff, that for sure would be the number one memory for me. Like even though we didn't win, it was a pretty awesome experience.
Yeah, you guys were on fire that tournament, man. Connor was unbelievable. Too bad he kind of got a little bit banged up there, but man, you guys had a good run. That was something to watch, I tell you, especially being, hosting and it being your home tournament, right? Like you can't ask for more than that, right? Like,
yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, no, that was for sure the number one, and yeah, it was, but for sure that would be it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time tonight. Thank you for participating in the inaugural Super Series. Hopefully,
part of history. the first team.
Yeah, part of the first team ever. Yeah, so part of history. So we're looking forward for more to come in the future. So hopefully, you guys keep putting your name forward and everything. So, but yeah, thanks again so much for your insights and your experiences and sharing them with all of us. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having
All
us.
right.
Have a good night, guys.
See ya.
Yeah.